This is Gemara Yevamos Daf Yomi. All the learning has been generously sponsored as an incredible schos for Refuah Shlema for Chavaleya Bas Saradina Baruch Hashem. She actually is a home recovering in Emir Hashem. The schos hatayra of the entire Chabura should ultimately bring Chavaleya Bas Saradina a complete recovery. Emir Hashem Bekare Mamish. We hope to be able to share such incredible news very, very soon. As well as all learning should be a schos shidduch for Yisrael Chaim and Dvaira. Tamasima Baspara Racha Shalom Levizava Oivik Ben Teli Shema Ben Chaya Blumiudis Bas Asima Malka. As well as learning should be a Chazafua Shlema for Mishmal Yos Ben Yefed Shmom Matila Donzim Chles Chav Basriva Sarah Blum Bas Mindal Chayim Moshishu Ben Milka B'Shavigu Shechana B'Saych Shar Chayla Yisrael rolling in the bottom of Ayin Aleph Amid Beis, and we're in the middle of a discussion that Klal Yisrael in the Midbar. This was a bit of a sidebar raya that we brought in, but it came up that Klal Yisrael in the Midbar did not get a bris milah. They all had a din of arelim. So says the Gemara, I don't understand. 2 lines at the bottom. Why didn't Klal Yisrael get a bris milah in the Midbar? Explains the Gemara, either it's because traveling is difficult, exhaustion of the journey, so they didn't get a bris milah, they weren't able to handle it. The entire time they were in the midbar, the northern wind did not blow. The northern wind, which is what heals the sick, and therefore, because this wind did not blow, they knew they would not be able to withstand the bris milah, and therefore they did not give bris milahs. The Tanya is learned in a Raisa. This northern wind never blew. My time, why not? Why did the northern wind never blow? So we started off asking, why didn't he get the bris? Because there's no northern wind. Why is there no northern wind? Because they were censored, they were in chayrim, as Rashi points out, because the Maisa Eagle that they did. Anania covered, because if the wind would have came, then Anania covered would have parted, and that's why the wind did not come. And Amar Papa says, Papa, very interesting din elkach. Based on what we just said, Yom De'iva, Yom Deshuta, a day that is cloudy, a day of severe southern winds, you don't give the bris milah because it's a sakana. And we don't let blood on such a day. But says the Gemara, which everyone here is wondering, what? We do bris in every day. But nowadays that everyone has trampled literally on this halacha, Shem watches over the foolish, which is a big klal in halacha. This famously Rav Moshe Feinstein in the Tshuva writes that the reason why you're allowed to smoke is Shem P'sayim Hashem. And just explain very simply what it means is when we find multitudes and the rabbim doing something which should ostensibly be a sakana. For example, over here getting a bris milah every day, smoking, etc., and yet no one is harmed, then we say Shem P'sayim Hashem. And of course, as everyone is hearing that many of the Paiskim speak out that nowadays, because we're seeing, unfortunately, Rahman al-Itzlan, people getting sick, so therefore no longer perhaps does it have this haftacha of Ramesh of Shem P'sayim Hashem with regard to smoking. We pick it up 10 lines down to the 2 dots. Tana Rabbana Kolos and Arbaim Shana Sheyisav Midulayu Yoim Shalanash Baruch Finest, says the Raisa Bechatzi Alayla. It's true this northern wind never blew by day, but it blew all the time at Chatzos of the night. Shenever be Bechatzi Alayla V'Shamika Kol B'char. My Talmud, though, where do we see from the pasuk from the fact that Hashem was Hika Kol B'char? Therefore, it shows us that this wind blew at night. Hakamash V'lan explains the Gemara the Yisratzin Milsehi that a time of Yisratzin is significant, so must be that the wind did indeed blow. And Amar Ravuna says Ravuna, going back to our discussion from yesterday, so we just segued a bit into halachas of arelos. When we were on the topic of halachas of arelos, we dealt with why Klal Yisrael indeed were arelim in the midbar. But now comes like Ravuna 10 lines down. The first line is Milsa Dvar Torah Mashuch Oichel B'Tshuma. Mashuch, one does not have a bris milah. Literally, the skin has been pulled up, whether it was intentionally or not, covering over the original bris milah. The halacha is he's allowed to eat truma. But to midivreim gazru love nation near Karl, because he looks like he does not look like he has a bris milah. Therefore, the rabbanim made exer he's not allowed to eat the truma. Meisvei asks the Gemara 1 second. Says the Braisa, he needs to have a second bris milah. So if he needs to have a second bris milah, clearly what do we see? He doesn't have a din of a mal. So why is it only derabanan? Sounds like on a deraisa level he doesn't have a din of a mal. Explains the Gemara, no, midrabanan. No, he has to get a new milah midrabanan. Asks the Gemara, what was your hava mina? Why did you assume that it was referring to the din daraisa? Hatzarich katani. It says sarich, and the word sarich always implies a derabanan. So says the Gemara, why did you assume that it meant daraisa? Then he said, no, it's only derabanan. What was your hava mina? Use the word sarich. Says the Gemara, Katayi b'Sefer, they erred in the Sefer that said Rav Yehuda Aimer, Lo Yimam Nishazakani Lo. He says Rav Yehuda, don't give a bris milah. Don't give a bris milah of a mashach because it's zakana, one that has their skin extended. Don't give a bris milah because it's zakana. Amru Loi, they respond to Rav Yehuda, ben kuzvia, I don't understand. There are many people in the days of Ben Kuziva that had a bris milah, and indeed it wasn't a zakana. And furthermore, the pasuk says this brisi offer the rabbi. He says mashach. So I ask the Gemara, I don't understand. We see that they're able to have more than one bris. They're able to redo it, and it's still okay. Before we got to our original raya, the Gemara interjects for a moment. Why do we need two psukim? Explains the Gemara, maybe it's coming to include something else, and therefore we need the second pasuk to teach me that to know it's coming to tell us our din. That's going to teach us this din that one who has the skin extended, he needs to have a second milah. So now we're in the middle of a brisa, and says the Gemara, concluding that brisa, which is ultimately going to be our kasha, who savar midikanasev la'ashas krada. So this is explaining the hava mina, that because the pasuk in the Gemara is a pasuk, we think it's a din daraisa, but it's not true. Therefore, that was the hava mina, why we thought it was a din daraisa, and explains the Gemara why ultimately it's only a din derabanan. And again, we're still within this din of Rav Huna. The din of Rav Huna that a mashach, one that has his skin of his foreskin extended, covering over his milah, is not allowed to eat truma. Asks the Gemara, Meisvei, about 20 lines from the wide lines. First one line is tumtum. Says the Braisa, tumtum inoichel b'truma, but nashav avodav oichlin. Mashach, one who has his milah extended, b'noilad kishumal, or a child that's born with a bris milah re'oichlin, he can yes eat truma. Third case in the Braisa, and droigines oichel b'truma, vein oichel b'kachim. End of Braisa. Excuse me, the one last case. Tumtum is just confusing because the first case was Tumtum and the last case is Tumtum. The Gemara will deal with that in a moment. Tumtum ein oichel loy b'truma v'loy b'kachim. So that's the Braisa, 4 different cases. A case of Tumtum, a case of Noil and Mol, a case of Androgenes, and another case of Tumtum. But says the Gemara, what do we see in this Braisa? Kadani miyos mashach v'in noilad keshumal re'oichlin. So we see clearly that a mashach, one whose skin is extended, the foreskin is covering his milah, has the din of a mol. Ask the Gemara, and therefore you could eat truma. Tiyofta de Ravuna, Tiyofta, therefore indeed Ravuna, in which he said that midrabana, this an isser, is not accurate. Says the Gemara, Tiyofta de Ravuna, Tiyofta. Amar Mar, let's go back into the Braisa for a moment. Nashav letomtum min alei. Says the Gemara, when you read the Braisa straight, it sounds like case A is tomtum, case B is nashav, his wives. I don't understand. Nashav letomtum min alei. How do we know? How does a tumtum have multiple wives? Elam, if you're going to tell me that Kaddish he married a woman, the Tanya learns that the tumtum shekidish kedusha kedushin, that if a tumtum, one who is zachris in the cave, is covered over, his genitals are covered over, we don't know if he's a zach nekeva. So if he gets married kedusha kedushin, niskadesh, if someone marries him, will have kedusha kedushin. Says the Gemara, what does it mean? It's a kedusha. It doesn't mean he's really married. Means he has a din married lechumra, but doesn't mean lekula. We can assume that he's married. Let them eat truma. So says the Gemara, what is the case over here? Safek Isha. The tumtum might be an Isha. An Isha is Kadesh, it's Isha. The problem is we don't know if this tumtum is a man or a girl, man or a woman. So if he's indeed a woman, how could he marry another woman? So says the Gemara, what are you talking about? So how could the tumtum have nashav? Fundamentally, in the wording of the brisa, it makes no sense. Amar Abaya, 5 lines from the white lines. No, the case is that you could see his beitzim, you could see the testicles, but it's still covered over a bit, so you know he's the din of a zachar, but he still has the din of a tumtum. That's the teretz of Abaya. Rav Amar, second answer. My nashav imai. That when it says nashav, doesn't really mean his wife; it means his mother. Says the Gemara, imai pshita. Ma'udatema moilin machal sheina moilin einoi ma'achal kamash malon. That even though this person cannot give birth, still Meichel, his mother, is going to be allowed to eat on his account. Tashema, says the Gemara. So we just had a machlokes Abaya and Rava, exactly what the case of the Brisa is. Abaya said the case was Beitz of Nikaris Mibachot, and Rava said Noshav is Imai. So Tashema, let's figure out who's right. And the last narrow line. Tumtum cannot eat neither chuma nor kachim. So explains the Gemara. According to Abaya, the reading in the Brisa is beautiful. El Rava. What's the tumtum the end of the Brisa coming to teach me? My tumtum aril. Hashta safik aril loyachal vadi aril. Achil, what's the avamina that if a suffix doesn't eat, certainly a vade doesn't eat? Says the Gemara, no, you got it all wrong. My tam kamar. The Bryce is explaining itself. This really works well with the wording as we said that case 1 and 4 seemingly are talking about the same tum-tum. So says the Gemara, Matam tum-tum in oichel b'tshuma mibnei shesafik arelu v'arel in oichel b'tshuma. So the last case of the Bryce is explaining the first case, the reason why the din is so. Says the Gemara on the end of Ayin B, Zamadal, 3 lines from the bottom, Lema Kitanoi. Let's say this din, the din that we started with today, that a Mashach, one whose Mila is extended, is an Issa D'Rabbanan to Yijuma. Let's say this is indeed a Machlokes Tanoim. That says the Bryce Mashach, V'nodik Shumal, V'gershen is Kaig Shumal, V'kotet Shavar Zamanai, 8 days pass, V'sharkul and Imailin Lasuye Mishiesh L'shtei Areilois. In all these cases, Einon Ma'ilul El B'yom, you only have to do the bris milah by day. Rav Laz, Rav Shimon, Aimer, no. Bizmanai, when the milah is Bizmanai, we turn over to Ein Beis and Beis. Einon El B'yom. It's true. A Mila at the right time only is day, but Shalai is manoi. But if you're doing the Mila after the 8th day, Nimalin b'yoymu b'layla. My lava klamifligisa says the Gemara. This is the fundamental detail that they're arguing upon. The Mar Savar, the Tanakama holds Mashach Daraisa. Mar Savar Mashach Darabanan. Says the Gemara Tizra. You really think this is what's going on in this Mishnah? Katan Shavar Zmanoi Mikal Amadamar Darabanan. With the Katan past the 8 days, you're going to tell me only Zachiv Derabanan? Can't be. That's not debatable. If it's a Katan past 8 days, Deraisa. If it's a Mashach, it's a Din Derabanan. So what is indeed the machlokes v'acha b'hakam efligim? Mar savar the Tanakama holds darshinan u'bayayim, or Mar savar loy darshinan u'bayayim. Explains the Gemara ki ad yasser Rav Yochanan v'kadarish noiser b'zmano yeinoi nisraf. Noiser in its right time does not get burnt. El b'yayim only by day. Shaloi b'zmano if you leave over the noiser longer than nisraf bein b'yayim bein ba'layla ve'isvei. And says the Gemara Rav Yochanan Rav Yochanan Yelanima Lishmini Shei Nima Elabiyim Minayin Rabbis the Tishav Asar Lachanos Hashem Asar. How do we know that in all these cases, if someone is doing the Mila not on the 8th day, that it has the same din in that what it could only be done by day, the Mila itself has to be done by day. Tamaloymar ubayom. The extra ubayom. Vafil manda amar deloy darish vav. This of course goes back to yesterday in the Diva board discussion. The sheet of Rabbi Akiva. Vav hey darish. If it's a vav and a hey, then it's so extra that we would darshan it. So what happened? Ishtik Rabbi Yechon was quiet. Basar dinafik after Rav Lazar left. Armali Rabbi Yechon Reish Lakish. Reisi the Ben Badash. Yeshiv Darish Kamashim Pia Grura. I see in the Ben Badash sitting and learning the Torah as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself is giving it over to Moshe Rabbeinu. Armali Reish Lakish. Didehi. Says Reish Lakish, was it his own limud? Mesniti, it's a Pasha Mishnah. Heicha Tanile. Says Rav Yechon, 1 second. Where was this Mishnah taught? B'Teres Kanim. Navik Tanya B'Tlasa Yaimi V'Savra B'Tlasa Yarchi. He learned the entire Sana for 3 days, and then what do? He said he was ma'ayin, he plunged the depths for the subsequent 3 months. Says the Gemara, let's go back to topic we spoke about yesterday. The topic of the Ifer Para Aduma, the ashes that are mixed together, which is ultimately that which is sprinkled and makes someone taller. So says the Gemara, Amar Rav Elazar, Arul sheyizaz azasli kashera, that an arul, one without a milah, is allowed to do this sprinkling of these ashes. Why? Tful Yom is the same thing as a Tful Yom. Shafal Pisha Asar B'Truma. A Tful Yom, someone who's waiting to go to the mikvah at tonight, even though it's Asar in Truma, it's still Kasher B'Bara. My Tful Yom. Shken Motor B'Meiser. Atu Anan La'achila Motor B'Meiser. Says the Gemara, what's your problem? There are different cases. Anan la'achili kamrinan, we're talking about eating it. Anan l'negia kamrin? No, that's not true. We're not talking about eating it. We're talking about even touching the produce. U'matval yoyim sha'aser v'negia de'truma muter b'para. Aro sh'muter v'negia nodin sh'muter b'para. So that's Xer Shava, that this child is indeed allowed, even though he does not have a bris milah. Tanya nami achi, now we have a raya. So it's din of Rav Elazar, Arul sheizaz asasai kishera. So an Arul is indeed allowed to sprinkle the ashes of the para aduma. And not only that, there's a story where the Chacham who were there said it is kosher. Says the Gemara, slow down. Meisvei, we have a rice. What does the rice say? Tumtum shekidesh kidusha shoy pasol. If a tumtum gets married, the marriage is nothing. Memnei shows savig arul pasol lekadish. And an arul can't get married. Androgynes shekidusha kidusha kasha. But an androgynes that gets married, then it is a good kedushin. Rav Yehuda Imer av androgynes shekidusha kidusha psulim memnei. Shesafek isha psulim lekadesh. Because a woman cannot marry another woman, and therefore says the Gemara, there is no raya. But Katani Miyam, with this we'll conclude, Arul v'safik Arul pasar melekadish. What did we learn already? We learned that an Arul, and as well as Safik Arul, is yes allowed to, Arul and a Safik Arul are, yes indeed, pasal melekadesh, pasal from sprinkling and consecrating the waters of the mechatos. So says the Gemara, it can't be that an Arul is kosher. Answers the Gemara, Rav Yosef Aitana Tana Dvei Rav Akiva who demar b'le la'arul ketame. This is Rav Akiva. Titania Rav Akiva Omer like Omer Daf. Rav Akiva Mataris Atameim Rav Akiva Omer. Ish the rabbi's arul that the ish comes to include the arul that even he is in this isser of eating truma. Amar Rava, 1 second, you're telling me that he's including the isser? Havi Yosefina Kamid Rav Yosef Ekashali Lo Yishtamet Mikakashili. He's asking me questions. Lo Yishtamet Tanav Lisnei Ha'arul. So why doesn't the Brisa just say a very simple wording of an arul and a tameh? Ve'lema Rav Akiva, and then it could indeed fit with Rav Akiva. Answers the Gemara of Eloi, and it's not true. That if they are indeed, then they are pater from the Re'iyah, from the din of coming up to the Beis HaMikdash. We'll pick it up from here as the Gemara is going to segue into the next discussion about this Arul.